Hey, welcome back. Today, we are diving deep into a really unique text, one that claims to be a kind of map, a blueprint of an unseen world that, if the author is right, is interacting with us at this very moment.
It's maybe the oldest question there is, right? We live our lives based on what we can see and touch, but what if that's not the whole story? What if there's another layer to everything, a whole spiritual dimension running parallel to ours, influencing our thoughts, our feelings, even our physical health?
So the source material for today's journey is a book from 1945 called Missionaries of Light. Now, we're not looking at this as some kind of holy text. Think of it more like a fascinating and incredibly detailed blueprint of a hidden ecosystem. One that isn't millions of miles away, but is woven into the very fabric of our reality.
All right, so here's our roadmap. First, we're going to find the hidden interface, the connection point between our worlds. Then, we'll explore that unseen ecosystem, including a pretty intense concept the book calls spiritual vampirism. From there, we'll get into its wild take on reincarnation, the high stakes involved, and finally, what your role is in this whole grand system.
So first things first, if there's a spiritual world all around us, how do we connect to it? Where's the port? Well, according to this blueprint, the bridge isn't out there in space somewhere. It's actually inside your own head.
Yeah, we all know the pineal gland from biology class. It's this tiny, pea-sized thing right in the center of the brain. Science tells us its main job is making melatonin to help us sleep. For a while, it was basically written off as just some leftover part from our evolutionary past.
But Missionaries of Light comes along and says, hold on a second. It completely reframes the pineal gland. It's not just making sleep hormones, it's a piece of highly advanced psychic technology. It's the antenna, the biological radio that tunes our physical brain into the spiritual dimension. Okay, so if we all have this psychic antenna built into our brains, the next question is obvious, right? What channels are we tuning into? What's on the other end of that broadcast? And this is really the core mechanic of the whole system. The spiritual world isn't someplace you go to when you die. It's right here, right now, and it's full of entities. And here's the kicker. They're drawn to us. It's like a law of physics. Our thoughts and our emotions create a vibration, and we attract spirits that are on that same wavelength. Now that law of attraction can be a beautiful thing, but the book spends a lot of time talking about the darker side of it, and it gives it a name that's, well, it's pretty memorable: spiritual vampirism. Before you start thinking about capes and fangs, no, it's not that. The book describes it as a kind of psychic parasitism. Unhappy or just plain idle spirits are attracted to negative energy. Addiction, chronic anger, deep sadness. They can then latch onto a person's spiritual field and start siphoning off their vital energy. And the effects described in the book are pretty stark. On one side, you have a healthy person who is said to literally emit a clear, vital light. But on the other, you have someone who's being vampirized. Their energy is bogged down by what the book weirdly calls black corpuscles, and they start having real-world problems. Can't focus, constant anxiety, bitterness, just a general feeling of melancholy they can't shake. The book even lays out how it happens in 3 basic steps. First, there's a mental link. An unhealthy habit or a negative thought pattern basically opens a door. That low vibration energy then attracts spirits on a similar wavelength. And finally, you get attachment and drainage, where they hook on and begin that slow parasitic process. But look, this whole ecosystem isn't just about dodging psychic parasites. According to the book, we come into this world for a reason, and the process of getting here is anything but random. It describes reincarnation as a meticulously designed mission. Yeah, forget any idea of just randomly being reborn. In this worldview, reincarnation is treated like a massive engineering project. The idea is that before you're born, your soul literally sits down with spiritual guides and drafts a detailed blueprint for the life you're about to live, all designed for your own growth. And the level of detail that goes into this plan is it's wild. The blueprint might involve being born into the same family as an old enemy so you can finally make peace. A soul might actually choose to have a physical illness to learn a lesson like patience. It even says you work with beings called spirit constructors to design your new body and even agree on a minimum lifespan you'll need to get the job done. And they get really specific. There's an example in the book where a soul is getting ready to reincarnate, and he's told, flat out, that his mission requires a body that's built to last at least 70 years. It's like a literal contract. But of course, having a plan and actually following it are 2 totally different things. Once you're here on Earth, free will is the ultimate wild card, and that meticulously designed mission can either be a huge success or it can be a total disaster.
The book uses these two case studies that just lay out the stakes perfectly. You've got Raquel. She embraces a difficult life as a mother with love, she's supported by high-level spirits, and she fulfills her contract earning what's called a crown of light. Then you have Cesarina. She gets caught up in a reckless life, attracts those parasitic entities we talked about, and ultimately rejects her mission, causing the entire reincarnation to fail. The contrast is just wow.
So after all that, psychic antennas, spiritual vampires, cosmic life plans, we have to land on the biggest question of all. What's our role in this? Are we just puppets being pulled by invisible strings?
And the book's answer is a hard no. Absolutely not. This one quote really gets to the heart of the whole thing. We aren't passive victims here. We are active broadcasters. Every thought, every feeling, every action is sending out a signal. And that signal, whether we realize it or not, determines the company we keep, both in this world and the next.
So in the end, the whole message of Missionaries of Light seems to be one of radical personal responsibility. If our inner world is truly what shapes our outer experience, if it's what attracts our companions on this journey, then our thoughts are just about the most powerful things in the universe. So I'll just leave you with the question this entire blueprint seems to be asking all of us. What kind of reality are you building?